Hi folks, I haven't made a video in a long time, so we'll see how this goes, but I'm excited. I don't know if I've even made a video since I moved into this house, which was in March of 2019. But anyway, I have had a lot of people coming to me recently with questions about my experience with DNRS, the Dynamic Neural Retraining System, and lots of other people just being like, oh my God, you healed fully from late-stage Lyme disease. How did you do this? So I wanted to address those things together in a video for folks on Facebook and for folks on YouTube and for folks in the future. I'm also writing a whole book about healing, but it's not all about my experience. So I'm going to try to give you the highlights here. And excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold. But so recent highlight that I think just like kind of illustrates where I'm at is it's, what is it, January 6th. And I was just in Texas for a week over the Christmas holiday and New Year's and my 35th birthday. And also celebrated a friend's bachelorette party weekend situation. And so I ended up going out and singing karaoke 3 nights in a row. And I drank alcohol the first night. I stayed up really late all 3 nights. I was in a bar that still has smoking in Texas, which was crazy. And I also ate all the things. I usually don't eat anything with gluten, dairy, sugar. I don't eat fruit, blah, blah, blah. And I just went nuts on this trip. And then I had these 3 nights in a row that I went out. And I didn't die. That's the crazy part. Not only did I not die, but all I got was just a little bit of a cold. And this is significant because for most of the last 20 years, I could not do one night like that, let alone half a night like that. I mean, there were so many nights, and my friends and family can tell you, where just going out to dinner with someone would wipe me out for like 3 days. Like it was, or at least after that dinner, I was like, okay, bye, I gotta go. So it feels crazy. It feels crazy that I went out 3 nights in a row. And it was also really fun. And I got to be DD 2 nights in a row for my friends, which felt really good. Upsides of being someone who almost never drinks. But anyway, so how did this happen? How, after having, late-stage Lyme disease for nearly 20 years, like how did I get to this point? And there were a few different things. I mean, this kind of all came to a head this spring. When I started doing some emotional healing work, and I took this one particular supplement for heavy metal detox, and I literally like woke up one day and was like, I feel amazing. So, but there was so much that led up to that. And one of the things that was extraordinarily helpful was doing the Dynamic Neural Retraining System, also known as DNRS. It is something that you learn either from DVDs or by going to a live training. People always ask, did you do the DVDs or the training? I did the DVDs, just so you know. And then once you learn the system, you practice it an hour a day for 6 months, for at least 6 months. And people also always ask me, did you do it for longer than 6 months? I didn't. I actually did it for like 5 months and 3 weeks. Don't tell Annie Hopper. She's the one who founded the program. Thank you, Annie Hopper. You're amazing. She created it. She was a patient who was just like, screw doctors, I'm going to figure this out. And not only did she heal herself, but she created this wonderful gift for all of us. And what the Dynamic Neural Retraining System does is it helps you rewire your limbic system. So for a lot of us, we get our bodies because of some kind of trauma, emotional trauma, physical trauma, head injuries, massive bacterial infections, etc. Our limbic systems get stuck in a fight, flight, or freeze response. And I'm somebody who has coached people with health challenges for 4.5 years, and I've been, very active in chronic illness communities, people trying to heal from health challenges, and you can see it sometimes. Like you can see people that are just always a little bit shaky, and to me, that's like a physical manifestation of a limbic system impairment. But anyway, DNRS involves talking to yourself and doing hand motions and walking in circles, basically. You do 4 rounds of that for 15 minutes each, which equals an hour a day. And you can break up the 15-minute chunks into different chunks. And excuse me. it takes a lot of discipline. It takes definitely a huge time commitment. Someone reached out recently on another YouTube video that I did and said, you know, I'm sick. I'm a single mom. I work. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if you can do that either. You just have to ask yourself, can I make time for 4 15-minute rounds a day? And I think, you know, that's up to you. There's definitely a way to get creative with it. What up, folks that are watching? Wow, Arthur, nice to see you. Jeremy, Evelyn, Carrie, love you guys. So I'll let you look into DNRS for yourself. It's really fantastic. It's good for all different kinds of health challenges. It was particularly good for me, I think, because part of my constellation was a head injury. So I had gotten to a place after receiving some healing for Lyme disease where I was feeling a lot better. I was still in pain every day. Was still like not being a very present human being. I still had a lot to learn in my healing. And then I got doored when I was riding my bicycle, and I got a concussion, had concussive symptoms for 2 months. And then all these other Lyme symptoms came back. I was pretty poopy. And then I had sound sensitivity and light sensitivity, and kind of completely lost my personality. What up, Jesse? And then DNRS brought it all back. So within a couple weeks of practicing DNRS daily, I went home for Thanksgiving. This was a few years ago. And my mom kind of lost her shit. She was like, oh my God, you're better. Like, you're better. Like like I felt like every hour she would look at me and just be like, you're better. And I mean, it was a few years of other work that I did before I got to where I landed this year in 2019, last year now. Yeah, it was crazy. Like, I didn't even realize how much of a shell of myself I was until I did DNRS, and I was like, oh my God, like, I can be funny again and be totally present with people and not take naps every day. It was so good. So I just wanted to share some of the hacks that worked really well for me when I was practicing DNRS, because like I said, an hour a day for 6 months is kind of a big commitment. It's kind of a big deal, especially if you have other things going on, especially if you're tired. So one thing that worked for me was breaking up the rounds. So doing like 15 minutes in the morning, an hour at lunch, an hour at night, or half an hour in the morning, half an hour at night. The other thing is, once I really got good at it, I would listen to house music while I did it. House music is my answer to everything. I listen to house music while I write my book too. And it just works really well for me, especially because like part of what you're doing in DNRS is getting your brain in this like happy soup and trying to keep it there. So for me, it was just like, yeah, we're healing. Everything is good. And there's part of DNRS is having a declaration, which is a little bit like a mantra, something that you tell yourself. And you say it as part of your rounds, but you're also supposed to say it during other parts of the day or kind of whenever you're thinking about it. And something that worked really well for me was singing my declaration. And I would sing it in different ways until it felt right. So mine was, I'm physically strong and able to handle any food or situation with ease. So I would just like walk around or like be in the shower or driving and be like, I am physically strong and able to handle any food or situation with ease. And I would just like mess around with it, and it was so fun. And I think it really helped. So I just want to offer that. Let's see, what else can I tell you about DNRS? Doing buddy rounds is the best. Find somebody to do buddy rounds with. So one of the cool things about DNRS is like, because of mirror neurons, watching somebody do a round is the same as doing a round yourself. So if you get on Zoom with somebody and you do a round and they do a round, it's like 2 rounds. And it's a really great way to make friends with other people who are into healing. And I've heard really sweet stories of people who just like became BFFs with their DNRS buddies and like stayed friends even after they healed. And I'm really grateful to folks in my life who told me to do DNRS after I knew about it for 2 years before I did it. I just put it on the list of like, yeah, whatever, that works for some people. I'm sure it's great, blah, 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 like along with Rife machines and other things that I didn't try. Yeah, I did buddy rounds with the people who told me to do it. I made new friends and did rounds with them. And it's just awesome. It's just so awesome that more and more people are doing it. There's another video on my YouTube channel that you should check out where I interview my friend Eli about his incredible experience with the Dynamic Neural Retraining System, or DNRS. So I'll leave that for now in terms of why DNRS is awesome and some things that worked really well for me. Other things that were really helpful for me, OnDemand, which is pulsed electromagnetic frequencies. It works on the meridians like acupuncture, and it both diagnoses and treats. It sounds super woo, but if you read about it, it's actually not that woo. And I found it extraordinarily helpful. I did it for over a year. I think it really depends on the quality and dedication of your practitioner in terms of the experience that you have with it, because I know some other folks who did it and they were like, I don't know. I mean, I did it, I think 6 times before I felt a significant difference. So I'll say that. If you go to ondemed.com, you can see who in your area has a machine. And not everybody who's listed there is actually a practitioner. Some of them are just people who have a machine, but they're all trained on how to use the machine. So you can reach out to them and see. And I need a glass of water. Evelyn, how can I find a buddy? On the DNRS website, there is a community board, and you can just post on there and say you're looking for a buddy. I believe there's also a plethora of DNRS-related Facebook groups, but that's how I found a buddy, and that's how some people that I know found their buddies. You can also put it out in the Facebook group that I run, Spoonie Superstars. There's some other amazing people doing DNRS in there. So yeah, so DNRS, OnDemand. I did all kinds of herbs, which were great. I worked with this incredible, lovely, wonderful Lyme literate herbalist, Tommy Priester, who continues to blow my mind all the time. Like I walked in one time with like all these different things that I couldn't explain. And like he walked me through this like Rube Goldberg machine type explanation of how different kinds of organ dysfunction were feeding each other and causing every single one of my symptoms, right? It was like a Lyme disease patient's dream, because I walked in the room and he literally explained every single thing and gave me a solution for all of it. Excuse me. So that, and then, but really what I think has been the most instrumental in my healing is the personal development work that I've done. Hours and hours of being coached. Therapy has been wonderful. I did 6 months of working with someone who does core energetics, which is about bringing consciousness to where emotions are in the body. It's so good for trauma. One of the sort of light bulb moments in my healing was realizing that I, in fact, had trauma to heal, and that was possible. There was a moment in my healing where I was talking to one of my healers, and I was like, yeah, you know, I've been reading about how like most people with these symptoms have trauma, but like I don't have any significant trauma, so like I don't know, like I must be an anomaly. And he was like, what is significant trauma? And I was like, good point. Just being alive is traumatic. There's so much. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be like what I thought in my brain was like, okay, my childhood did not look like the movie Precious, therefore I can't say that I had trauma. But it turns out there's like there's a whole lot of possibility between like having a perfect life, which probably isn't true for anyone, and then what happens in the movie Precious, which is awful, so awful. I still have nightmares about it. So that, and then I have recently been reading the book When the Body Says No by Gabor Mate, and shout out to my friend Alan, who told me twice to read that book. It's so good, and he goes through different different kinds of chronic disease and cancer, and looks at how the different flavors of emotional repression that that manifest in those illnesses, or like, so there's like personalities for people with ALS, for example, and personalities for people with breast cancer. It's wild. It's wild. Because the thing is, like, we all develop different emotional coping mechanisms as we're growing up for whatever's going on in our households. And so particular flavors of coping styles, which sometimes get labeled personality traits, but are actually just like ways that we figured out how to survive and live and be in the world, are things that turn into illness later in life, or not even later in life, sometimes early in life. I was 15 when I got sick. So, and that's not to say that like it's an opportunity to be like, fuck my parents, they messed me up, they made me sick. Like we all do this, like, but it's just the different ways of dealing with things cause different things. Like some people get mental illness, some people get physical illness, some people are just jerks all the time. I mean, not really, but like some people have harder times with some things, some people have harder times with other things. So bringing awareness to how you are being in the world, which is something that life coaching does. It's something that certain kinds of therapy can do. I think that's like that's like the number one best thing that you can do in your healing, because you can take all the medicines, you can do all the treatments, but if you're not dealing with the way that you are being, that's impacting your relationships, it's literally impacting your internal organs. If you're not dealing with that, then you might never get better, or you'll get better and then you'll get sick again, and you'll get better and you'll get sick again. Like you have to sort of get at those parts of you that might be getting in the way. So I hope that makes sense. I'll say two more things and then I'll let you all go. So one of the other things that I found just so integral in my own healing is loving myself. Like it sounds very simple, and I thought I was really good at it until I met a certain practitioner who was like, here's all the ways in which you're not loving yourself. And seeing that was so painful. It was so painful. I still am like grieving just how much I have historically thrown myself under the bus. So I really recommend getting support on the self-love front. I don't think it's something that you can do by yourself. I mean, listening to Lizzo and looking at yourself in the mirror every day and saying, I love you, sexy bitch, like that's a good start. It's a good start, but it might be something that's great to get support on. And the third thing, what was the third thing? Oh, just that healing is wholeness, right? So in general, healing is about loving every single part of yourself. So if you can get support to see the things that you don't want to look at, that's where the magic is. That's like digging into the most uncomfortable, scary parts of me, which is just like still makes you want to shudder. Like that was the good stuff. Like those were the turning points in my healing, and that stuff isn't easy. Like you want to make sure that you are ready for it and ready for the fallout that can come from it, the grief that can come from it, and that you have space to integrate and the support to integrate, because like I'm privileged as hell, you know, like I worked for 4.5 years. I had my own business. I had a ton of flexibility. I could take a whole day to cry if I needed to. Not everybody has that. So I just want to invite you to pursue these things in your healing, but also know that you want to be thoughtful about the space and the time that's needed to go through the process. So it's not something that you want to just be like, this is a thing I have to fucking do to heal. Like it's not going to work if you do it that way. And if you don't give it space, like it could just make things worse. So, oh no, losing audio. I'm sorry, Jesse. Well, if you have any questions, let me know. Feel free to leave them here. I'm also going to put this on YouTube. And I'm just so grateful to everyone who's watching this and everyone who's interested in healing and interested in investing in their healing. It's just the best. Like, what if we lived in a world where everybody loved themselves? Like, how freaking amazing would that be? Like, I think it would be great. Like, maybe no more ISIS, no more physical health challenges for the most part, chronic ones at least. Could be really, really sweet. So again, let me know what you're getting out of this, and I am excited to connect with you all about whatever's coming up for you in your healing. Mwah! Bye.